All right. Welcome to Matter of Fact Podcast. We're doing our mock draft 1.0 here. I'm your host, Dom. Of course, Austin. I'm going to go ahead and be evens. Austin's is odds. And he'll start off with the number one overall pick from the Panthers to the Bears of this year, 2024 NFL draft.
So we're not going to reinvent the wheel here. We're going to keep it simple. We're going to take Caleb Williams, the number one pick in this year's NFL draft. Caleb Williams is a stud athlete. He's being compared from anybody between Pat Mahomes to Aaron Rodgers. Scouts love him. They think he's one of the best prospects to come out since, Andrew Luck. So I just think that the Bears are doing the right thing, selecting him here with this pick. Here's some of his highlights, why he gets compared to Pat Mahomes and Aaron Rodgers. He's not necessarily a scrambler, but what he does do is he moves around well in the pocket. He's going to create time and wait until one of his wide receivers get open. And then once his wide receivers gets open, he's usually able to find them. So in conclusion, for this year, first overall pick, we're going to go with Caleb Williams.
So interesting thing you said about since Andrew Luck. Everyone's saying that as if I feel like the hype is pretty similar to Trevor Lawrence's. They were saying that about Trevor Lawrence in terms of the Andrew Luck prospect hype.
And
you know what I mean?
And I think we always kind of get on this because there's a difference between hype and actual scouting the talent. So it's almost like, what side are you on? Are we talking about like a hype that they're receiving, or are we talking about
think
the
both.
actual skill set that they have?
I think both. Just especially think about Trevor Lawrence's his size, the prototypical QB size. He's mobile. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
He was at Clemson all those years, won a natty.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. But yeah, I was just wanting your take on that. But with the number two pick, the fact that they're even here is pretty interesting. I know for a while last year, it seems like the Commanders fans were sold on Sam Howell mid-season when he was leading the league in passing yards, which was deceiving. And I was really hoping it didn't all pretty much go to shit for them as a Giants fan. And then they rattled off like 8 straight. And I think after that, there were still some Commanders fans wanting to bring him back. Bro, you guys invested a 5th-round pick. He's small. You know what I mean? It's kind of like Baker Mayfield's size, but not as good as Baker. So, but for me, definitely got to go quarterback. You just don't want to be here again. So, I mean, besides the receivers, you already have a number one wide receiver. You don't really – what's the quarterback they have on the roster right now? Marcus Mariota, I believe. They picked him up, so that's a pretty good backup. Yeah. And that's part of the reason why I'm going with Jaden Daniels. I think stylistically he's being compared to Lamar, but I think it kind of shows from who they have as their backup who they might be aiming for in the draft. Now, with Jaden Daniels, obviously won the Heisman. One of the knocks on him is, was he being carried by that wide receiver core? At combo of Malik Neighbors and Brian Thomas Jr., who I believe will be number ones in this league, if not from the jump in their first 2 years. But we saw with Joe Burrow at LSU, he had a crazy tandem over there. And he also had that 1 year wonder where he just rose up the draft board and he went to a Super Bowl in his second year. So,
and just to kind of touch on that, I do actually want to bring up some of the stuff that the scouts say about him. One scout calls him, this is the Athletic. One scout says that he has high upside, but has a ton of room to grow. It will take a couple of years, and the offense has to be tailored to him. It's going to be somewhat wow, but some ugly plays, a lot like Justin Fields. I want people, as we go through this process, to really, really take into account what these scouts say and how they phrase their words when they like a prospect compared to when they don't like a prospect. But yeah, we're just going to kind of go back to that just so you guys get a feel and that everyone can understand that we aren't just saying this about the players. This is what the scouts are saying, former head coaches, player personnel executives. We're taking from the people that are making the decisions here.
I forgot to mention that in the beginning. I think we're kind of doing these mocks similarly, me and Austyn, where it's going to be 70% what we're hearing, what we're seeing around the league, what's getting leaked, and then obviously it's going to be that other 30% is really going to be what we would do, team needs, things like that. But yeah, in terms of Jaden Daniels, like I said, getting those comparisons to Lamar, he could really move, but he's also a very solid passer in the right situation. I think he could really flourish. And like I said, Washington was hoping for possibly a wild card spot before going on that 8-game losing streak. So they're not a terrible team roster-wise. So it's not a bad position for a rookie quarterback. Everyone's talking about how Caleb's in one of the best situations for a rookie quarterback that I've personally seen maybe in my lifetime, because they weren't supposed to be a number one. But I don't think Washington's a bad spot either. And I just really hope he learns how to slide. If you look at some of his tape, you see him kind of going damn near head first. He's just getting rocked. And these defenders in college don't hold a candle to what he's going to see in the NFL. So it's going to be really important for him to protect himself, as we've seen with Anthony Richardson last year. All right, number 3, Pats.
So right here, I'm selecting for the Patriots. I do hear there's some rumblings about possible trade scenarios, people trying to trade up for the chance to select the quarterback here. And I do think that there might be some truth to it. I'm not going to say that if someone is able to give New England a Godfather deal that they would pass it up. But I think that at the end of the day, everybody knows you need a franchise quarterback in order to play football and be successful. I think this is their chance to get a franchise quarterback in there. And yeah, I think they stay here. They don't trade. And I think that they select Drake May.
Drake May. Yeah. Oh, I'm over here. Trade.
Yeah.
Yeah. Drake May.
Drake May's a special player. I think he played well this year. I think he played even better last year, which is the real reason why, he falls to 3, because he didn't come out after his sophomore year. And then he didn't have the weapons that he did last year. However, he still has that prototype 6'4", 223-pound size. He can throw the ball. He's basically Justin Herbert. And people love Justin Herbert, think he's a great football player. He has good situational awareness.
Here. This is May looking left.
We don't need all that, but this is him on 4th down, staying strong in the pocket, staying in there, Fender barreling down on him, and he still is able to make a big play on 4th down for his team. I think that's a guy you want in your locker room. I think those are the type of plays that football teams get up for. And yeah, I think the Pats are excited to get their franchise quarterback at 3 here.
Yeah, and the thing about Drake May is that the knock on him is some of his hero ball plays, but man, when they work, it's like, who else is doing that in this draft at quarterback? Hope somehow the Giants could land him, or we could trade up, or something happens, but looking like a pipe dream. At number 4 with the Cardinals, similar to what Austyn said with the number 1 pick, I think this is pretty clear. Don't overthink it. Get the most complete receiver in the draft. It's funny with the draft fatigue, the off season, we're getting tired of mocking him, the number 1. Put Malik Neighbors in there. Put Rome Odunze in there. The main knock on Marvin Harrison Jr. is, he didn't show up to the combine. He didn't show up to his pro day. People got to realize, for one, obviously his dad is top 5, arguably at minimum top.
Went out.
What you said?
Something went out.
What do you mean something went out?
I can't hear you.
You can't hear me right now.
Should we pause it? Let's pause it real quick.
Right. So as I was saying about Marvin Harrison, one of the biggest knocks, or really the only knock on him right now, is that he didn't attend the combine or his pro day. But what people have to remember is that his dad is a top 5, arguably at bare minimum top 10 wide receiver of all time. Himself, he was a pretty quiet guy when he played with Peyton during his legendary stint with the Colts. So, I think he's really being advised by his dad here. But if you're worried about some of the arbitrary stats from the actual combine, like the 40 time, all you got to do is look at his in-game speed. These are things that are tracked. It's called GPS. It's like their GPS score. And he's a burner. He's not like Xavier Worthy 4.3 type speed, but speed is not an issue. Very well-rounded receiver, does everything, great, just super well-rounded. And I know we all remember the Kyler Murray meme where it's like, yo, I'm throwing it up. D-Hop's going to be out there somewhere. I think with Marvin Harrison, we're going to have that little meme possibly for the rest of Kyler's career.
Yeah, and I mean, again, right now I kind of have the Arizona Cardinals draft and all the picks that they have available to them because I know that, it's line season and the NFL draft cycle, and a lot of people are trying to connect the Arizona Cardinals to trading back to get more picks. But when you have literally almost 7 picks in the top 105 selections, like you kind of you're good. You don't need any more picks. You need legitimate blue chip players. Marvin Harrison Jr. is one of those blue chip players. I don't think that they're trading away from them. I think that that's just some smoke because there's a few teams that are really, really trying to hype up certain quarterbacks for some trade up potential. But yeah, that's all I have to say really about in regards to the Arizona Cardinals.
And just to add to that, they just have their draft capital. They probably have some of the best draft capital in this draft. So the idea of trading back when you have all that draft capital is the definition of overthinking things. Don't overthink it. Not sure why they're sending out these smoke screens, but in terms of the Cardinals, I mean, what more could you really want? Don't be greedy. Don't think too hard. And what a lot of fans don't realize is it's not all about the first round pick. Some of the best players come out of the second, third. So having a bunch of those picks, crucial. That's what really makes the draft. That's what wins championships is those middle round picks, starting from second all the way to about like 5th or so. We just saw, Brock Purdy, Mr. Irrelevant. We saw Puka go into 5th. So that's probably why for the 2.0 that we'll do right before the draft, we're considering doing a 2-rounder, but stay tuned for that. But besides that, number 5, LA Chargers.
The LA Chargers, they do have a lot of needs right now. They just let go of two of their solid wide receivers. They kind of need depth at almost all the positions. So I think right here, they really, really wanted to orchestrate a trade down or a trade back. However, Minnesota decided to play it a little smarter than people are suggesting them to. And they're not really entertaining anything from the Chargers here. So that kind of forced the Chargers' hand, and they're forced to pick at 5 to keep the value. And I think that they end up selecting Malik Neighbors with this pick, the second best wide receiver in this draft. And again, I alluded to Dane Brugler. Yeah, in my opinion, I alluded to Dane Brugler earlier, and one of the things that he just said on one of his interviews in regards to the draft, in regards to the wide receiver position, is that Malik Neighbors, if he was in last year's draft or even the draft before, would have probably been the number 1 overall wide receiver. Or he didn't say probably; he said he would have been the number 1 overall selected wide receiver. And Malik Neighbors is number 1 on some people's boards. I'm not saying that he's comparable to Marvin Harrison, or I like him more than Marvin Harrison. I think that there are 3 solid number 1 wide receivers in this draft class, and sometimes it just kind of falls that way. When you go over here and you look at his profile, he really is a solid wide receiver. I mean, he has speed, he has the size, he has length. I mean, he has agility, he has burst score. They're comparing him to Jamar Chase here. I personally see a little bit of CeeDee Lamb in his game, like a faster version of CeeDee Lamb, which is kind of ridiculous. So, I mean, I guess if somebody wants to argue that Marvin Harrison is the hands down best, that's fine. This dude's the second best, and he's a believable game playmaker on the field. So I think that the Chargers and Justin Herbert, especially, is very, very happy with the selection of Malik Neighbors at 5.
Yeah, and I actually want to speak to that draft tidbit in terms of past drafts. Now, the first receiver to go in last year's draft, I remember there was a late run, but where did that start again? Do you remember?
Nah, not without looking at it. I would need to confirm it. But I mean, I'm going to say that the first wide receiver selected was in the teens.
Yeah, I got it right. I got it right here. So it was actually JSN at 20.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of easy. Like, yeah, he would have been the best there. But in the 2022 draft, the first receiver
was
Chris
Olave. I'm saying that's the draft with Chris Olave, Garrett Wilson.
Drake yeah. Drake London was taken at 8. Olave, Garrett Wilson at 10, then Olave at 11. I mean, you think that's what he's referring to as well? Because last year saying that he would be number one is kind of easy.
Well, he said in the last few drafts he would have been the number 1 wide receiver. And there are teams, I'm not saying there's teams that are able to select these guys, but there are teams that have graded Malik Neighbors higher than Marvin Harrison Jr. Not saying that
which is fair. Yeah. No. And he is like that.
And even I'm gonna see if I can bring it up. But on Dan's big board, Malik Neighbors is actually the number 3 player overall on his big board. Caleb Williams is number 1, Marvin Harrison Jr. is number 2, and Malik Neighbors is number 3. So this isn't really about anybody else. This is more so to like how good Malik Neighbors is going to be and how good he is as a prospect.
Out of curiosity, does he have like Marvin Harrison 4th or something, or 5th?
He has Marvin Harrison too.
Oh, he has him too.
Williams,
okay.
Yeah, he has Caleb Williams 1, Marvin Harrison 2, and then he has Malik Neighbors 3.
Oh, okay. I got you. I thought you were saying he had him before. I just didn't. I guess I wasn't paying attention. But 6th pick. You know, my Giants already know what I want to do here. Haven't had that marquee true number 1 receiver since Odell. And I think we're in a good position. I wouldn't mind Malik Neighbors. You know, obviously Odell came from LSU. LSU just breeds, elite receivers. So I think Malik Neighbors is going to be a hit wherever he goes. But in terms of what we have on the roster right now, we have a 2nd round pick in Wan'Dale Robinson from a couple years back. Slot receiver, he's about 5'8", 5'9". We just drafted Jalen Hyatt in the 3rd last year, and he has a lot of potential. So I say get Rome Odunze, 6'3". Not saying that their games are similar, but just I remember as a kid watching Plexico Burress, Hakeem Nicks, really miss having that big body receiver on the outside, and I think it would complement what we have going on pretty well.
Yeah. And I mean, again, here they're showing him he's getting compared to Justin Jefferson. I mean, yeah, these are kind of really, really high regards, but these players are of that caliber. And when they get selected at whatever pick that they are selected in this draft, they are going to automatically be expected to be wide receiver 1. They're going to attract all the attention, and they're going to have to be playmakers. But I mean, these guys are going to live up to the build. This man is 6'3", 212 pounds. They say he's one of the best red zone threats in the draft. I think that him at 6, I think that's a really, really good pick for the New York Giants.
And the more and more I think about it, like that's whoever's there, unless it's Drake May, don't trade up. Just get him, man. They have him listed, or they're saying shades of a supersized Chris Olave. Another thing that I really like about Rome, and I've been really doing my homework on these wide receiver prospects. I'm sure, Austin, you're probably like this, depending on the needs of the Cowboys. That's probably who you're kind of tuning into in terms of tape, overall info, their background and all that. So I've been really looking into the receivers. But in terms of the routes that he was running, he ran every route over there at Washington. He ran every route, and that's extremely important. Not a one-trick pony here. I would like to see where Brugler had him on his big board and where he would have went these past 2 years himself. So,
I mean, yeah, I can pull up the big board here. That's a problem. I mean, Dane Brugler actually just dropped the Beast, and I don't know if you guys are familiar with what the Beast is, but it's one of those. Let me see if I can pull it up here. 1 second. But basically, Dan Brugler, he creates a file or a PDF that has every single draft, every single player that's 400 players in the draft. Let me see right here. It's called the Beast. It's like this is the best guide in NFL. I don't
World.
even know. Yeah, I don't even know.
In a
But
draft world.
yeah, we can go to the wide receivers really quick. If we could just see where he does have Rome and Duze. Let's see, Rome. Let's see where he has him at. Oh no, get me out of here. Yeah, so he has that's the third wide receiver. These guys, yeah, people aren't sleeping on any of these wide receivers. They're all highly regarded and very, very in this NFL draft cycle. I think that it's about what do you want for your team personally, or what kind of wide receiver do you guys need? Do you need an all-around playmaker? Do you need an X? Do you need a Y? Do you want a slot guy? You want a guy that you can put all over the field? I think it's just relatively dependent on the scheme and the coach.
For sure, for sure. I'm excited for him. He might as well just, I might as well pre-order his jersey, man. My gut's telling me that's what's going to happen. So, what about the Titans? I feel like this is a pretty easy one, unless you're about to throw us for a loop.
For the Titans, they get their guy in Joe Alt. Just going to keep it simple here. Stalwart, right tackle, left tackle. He can play both. Son of a former NFL football player, Notre Dame. He grew up with the game. I mean, he's just going to be a stud. His father was a stud. Football family. Turn the card in. Let's keep it pushing.
Yeah, and the thing with Joe Alt too is, he's just a pure athlete. I believe he played like tight end and maybe somewhere on the D line in high school. So, I mean, great size, great fundamentals, and like you said, he has that in his blood with his dad playing, and his name is Joe. Like all the good tackles, they tend to be named Joe. So there's a little bit of stock there with me. All right.
Oh, really?
A little bit with the Falcons. Now, they've invested a lot into their offense for the past several years, and it's time to stop doing that. You got Kyle Pitts at 4. I wouldn't have done that. I know it wasn't seen as a huge deal, obviously the quarterback situation wasn't the best, but it just still doesn't seem like a worth pick. They got Bijan at 8, and then they got Drake London at 7. So they continue to be in the top 10. It's time to go defense, and one of the most important defensive positions is edge. And I'm gonna go Dallas Turner from Bama.
Dallas Turner, nice. So yeah, I mean, he kind of broke down what the Falcons are dealing with, So they took a big swing in free agency last year. I mean, this year, signing Kirk Cousins to a 4-year deal. They had receivers Darnell Mooney, Rondell Moore, and Ray McCow, which is bringing a lot of speed to their offense. And obviously, like it says here, they're going to need is that defensive end, edge rusher, and that's what they're going to try to here. A lot of people believe that they could have some trade value here for the quarterback needy teams. Minnesota being one, Denver, and Las Vegas, maybe moving up to 8 potentially. But if they decide to stay, like he said, yeah, they need edge rushers, they need cornerbacks. So I just think that would be that's the right pick. If they're not able to trade back, I think that selecting edge at 8 is the correct pick for them.
Yeah, and I was thinking about taking a corner because they could use a corner, but It is a pretty deep corner class. And if you have opportunity to take best defensive player off the board, just draft your corner in the second round. I think that's what they should do. Edge, corner.
Yep, and they also have a 3rd round pick that's from the Jaguars. So they're one of those teams too that have 1, 2, 3, 4. They have 4 picks that are going to be top 80 select, like essentially. So they're doing good. They don't really need to trade, but if someone calls them and wants to give them a nice package and they're only going back 2 or 3 slots, I'm sure they're willing to listen. But yeah, the Falcons are doing good right now.
Yeah, and their defense didn't play bad last year, so it's not like it's a completely. Jesse Bates was a great pickup. They have Grady Jarrett still, right?
Yeah, but I wouldn't really bank on him just off the name. We got plays once he gets back from his injury. I think it was those lower body injuries. So just want to see how he recovers from that one.
Yeah, but besides that, I wouldn't mind if they put somebody opposite of AJ Terrell, very underrated corner in the league. But right now, I mean, what they got, Lorenzo Carter. We used to have him. I can't really think of who else. Yeah, you got a corner. You got nothing on the edge. So, but number 9, Bears.
Number 9. Now, this is where it does get a little tricky because the Bears could stay back and they could select that 9, and no one would blame them for that. But when I was doing a little bit of digging, I realized that the Bears only have a few picks this year. They only have 4 picks total in the draft right now as it stands, and they don't really have picks until like the middle of day 2 after this selection. So if I were a betting man, I think the Chicago Bears might trade out of this pick, but for the practice of this draft, I am going to just have them selecting a player here, and I think the player that I'm going to have them selecting 9th overall is Quinton Mitchell, first cornerback off the board.
That's Quinyon Mitchell. I know.
Quinyon Mitchell.
Yeah. That's going to take some getting used to. That's a unique one.
Yeah, but Quinyon Mitchell was one of those who shot up the draft board after the Senior Bowl. He ran at the combine. He clocked a 4.33. He was a stud at the Senior Bowl. I was looking at clips, watching the practices, and I mean, he was shutting down some of these guys that are going to be getting drafted here soon and also early in day 2. I just think that he's the perfect prototype corner for today's NFL at 6 foot, has good body control, like they're saying here. And I just think that him and Jalen Johnson on the outsides for the Bears will be something that a lot of wide receivers aren't going to want to deal with on Sundays.
Yeah, he definitely shot up, and I mean, you can't go wrong with any of the other corners. I feel like you need defense in the beginning of this draft. I mean, you're just loving how this is playing out, right? You kind of have your pick of the litter, and with the Bears going ahead and improving the offense the way they have, it definitely makes a lot of sense for them to go corner here. So, not a bad pick. Now with the Jets. I'm a little bit conflicted simply because their team is very their success this upcoming year is really predicated on some of the key injuries, and some of the people that they brought in are kind of have a deep injury history. Mike Williams, Tyron Smith, they got a left tackle. And then obviously Aaron Rodgers tore his Achilles a couple plays into the year last year. So I would just go best player available here. This one's tough. Could go Bowers. Bowers wouldn't be bad, but I feel like if you're going to get an offensive weapon for Aaron Rodgers, you might as well take one of the really good premium receivers here. I think you want to go ahead and protect Aaron Rodgers just in case, Tyron. I mean, once you're the Cowboys, when's the last time you had a full healthy season?
Well, I count last year as a full healthy season for him. I think he only missed 2 or 3 games. But I mean, yeah, he's going to probably only play anywhere between 13 to 15 games and that's a season. That's a Pro Bowl, all pro season. But yeah, he is injury, so you do need to have some type of insurance in place for the off chance that he might end up hurt.
Okay. And for that reason, and I could have went a lot of places here. I was actually thinking maybe receiver, something opposite of Garrett Wilson instead of going to Brock Bowers. But I'm going to go Olu just based off just the raw potential. Because the thing with the Jets, they should probably draft a quarterback later in the draft, by the way. But, whatever happens with Aaron Rodgers, you want to make sure that line is secure, and you don't want to really rely on, a older, still productive Tyron Smith. And they still got Elijah Vera Tucker. They just grabbed Morgan Moses, or was he already on the team? I think he came from the forget. But
yes, he this is who they got right here. We got it right here. We got it up just so we know. This year they picked up Smith, wide receiver Mike Williams, and defensive end Hassan Reddick, and also they traded for Morgan Moses. I'm pretty sure they traded for him. This was actually kind of funny, and I feel this way when we're talking Jets. Jets have won many off seasons that didn't lead to much regular season success. I think that's kind of hilarious. And obviously you touched on all their key positions: wide receiver, offensive tackle, running back. So I mean, you were kind of hitting it on the head of the things that they need. But obviously, with this one pick, you can only pick one person. I think that them getting Fashanu right here is a perfect pick for the situation that they're in currently.
And Olu, sort of, in terms of what they might be focusing on here, kind of reminds me when they picked Mekhi Becton, just in terms of it was a deep tackle class that year. I believe that's the Andrew Thomas year, along with a bunch of other tackles that went, but they kind of went for the big guy who's a little bit more raw, not as polished as some of the other guys, but lots of potential. Fortunately, Mekhi Becton was dealing with a lot of injuries so far in his career, but let's shore up that offensive line.
Yeah, we're the Jets. We're not taking the sexy tight end. We'll let somebody else deal with that. So here we have Vikings on the board, and this player's been slotted to him at 5 for whatever reason. The entire cycle, I don't really know why. It was almost like because they came into a first round pick, they had to give that pick up for a quarterback. I kind of thought that was absurd. And then yesterday or 2 days ago, Adam Schefter is in an interview with Establishing the Run, and he states that they actually didn't reach out to the Texans to acquire that first round pick. The Texans reached out to them to acquire a second round pick, which was the second round pick that was used to trade for Stephon Diggs. So it's just one of those things with the more you're like, they don't really have to use that first round pick for a quarterback. Maybe they can just sit back and see where it falls, or maybe they can trade a 1 and like a 4th or a 5th, something along the lines of there. But they don't really have to trade 2 1s for the 5th overall pick to select JJ McCarthy. I think they get him at 11 here, like they do in this mock. I think they'll be able to do that in real life too. So we're selecting JJ McCarthy.
JJ McCarthy. And to build on what you were saying, what Schefter said, if I were in Minnesota, I'd be kind of pissed that he came out and said that, because with that information, very underrated piece of news, because it makes all the about JJ McCarthy, it makes it look like obvious smokescreen. Like it just looked now like, oh wait, you guys didn't even really reach out to get that pick, and now all of a sudden you're whatever. So no, I
was trying to allude to the fact that I was like, this is all, I don't believe in any of this. I was trying to tell you that. I was like,
hey, bro, my main point was if they're not trading up to like 5 with the Chargers, I just don't think they're going to trade the pick at all. I don't think they need to trade to 8. You know what I mean? That was my whole thing. Like,
right, but you wrong, right. But we read earlier that people were saying that like that 8th pick is somewhere where someone would possibly trade into. But we're into JJ McCarthy right now, the elephant in the room. I like it, and you can like this guy just based off of the things that they say about him, and some of the things that these scouts and scouts and GMs are currently saying about JJ McCarthy is just kind of funny, because when we go to some of these other quarterbacks that could possibly be better, they don't get this kind of benefit of the doubt. Let's see what we got here. They say he's a winner, a little overrated, reminds me of Daniel Jones. Who said that before to you, Dom?
I have no idea, man.
I did. Yeah, I said that. I said that if he's drafted at 6, they would just be drafting Daniel Jones again.
which
Giants
is
are
annoying.
good.
Which is annoying, and like I'm kind of superstitious, bro. And we got Daniel Jones at 6 years ago. It's like, bro, just don't force the quarterback, man. Just get a Doomsday, wrap it up. Let's not redo this process. So, I mean, I'm with you, bro. I'm with
Coaches
you.
love him though. Look, this is what technique is jacked up. But when we met him, he knew he had to work on his layering of the ball. May is more of a sandlot passer. JJ is probably better at working from the pocket in the long term. I'd probably take him third. Like, that's not what you want to hear if I'm taking somebody third. You know what I mean? It's just like, why are we taking this guy's
bro? They do this
is,
every year. That's this year's Will Levis,
right,
this year's
exactly.
Mac Jones,
And which
where
is
it's
why I
like,
pointed out, because you have to be cautious of what people are telling you and pay attention to what they're actually saying. That isn't the last quarterback evaluation that we'll go into, but yeah, for the most part, you just got some of these scouts say about a player, but then you're like, wait, you want to turn around and select him high? That's interesting.
yeah, right. It's like the the words aren't the result. Like, it sounds like two mismatched descriptions. Like, what are you talking about then? What do you mean you get them third? But it's that time of year, man. Like, people are missing football, so they're just kind of throwing shit at the wall, seeing what sticks. Now, with the Broncos, now this is where the second run of quarterbacks is going to go, right? First 3 picks, quarterbacks. Now, this is assuming no one trades, and I just highly doubt no one trades. With 3 teams right here, all by each other, that need quarterback, I'm sure one's going to really edge out the other, assuming one of them really likes one of these guys. And
do you want to look at the picks? Because I mean, we're talking about trading, but we don't even know if they have enough picks to trade.
Well, we know they don't have a lot of. We don't even have to look that up, bro. They gave up a number 1 pick for Russell Wilson. They gave up another number 1 pick for Sean Payton. So we know they're pretty low on picks. It's the reason why they went ahead and got rid of their defensive star. What was his name? They traded him to Roquan Smith, right? No, that's the Bears.
Bradley Chubb.
Bradley Chubb. Bradley Chubb. That's the reason why they traded Bradley Chubb mid-season like that, was to get some of those picks back, which kind of shows you what they thought about Russell Wilson. It was never it was redeemable.
So if you were
that situation,
if you Denver, what would the package be for you to trade up?
With this?
Yeah, just looking at
shit, man. You'd have to give up that. You'd have to give up that third and maybe a future first. But it's like, you want to give up another first again?
Right.
Like, stop giving up your first. So, like, yeah, the Broncos. I don't Vikings really have to worry. It's about the Broncos. It's about the Raiders who you're going to pick for. But with the Broncos, I'm going Bo Nix. It just feels like a Sean Payton. It just feels. It's just something. It's just a gut feeling, right? And this is what we're doing with these mock drafts. So, if you, even though I like Penix better as a prospect, I'm just going by, once again, some of the things I've been hearing. You know, the news. That's a word on the street. And Bo Nix has like the most college experience ever. Yeah, I mean, it feels like he's been playing since I was a freshman in damn near. But
and now, go ahead.
No, go ahead. What you guys say?
And now it's just funny when we're talking about Bo Nix, because these former GMs, you can tell when they like a guy. You can tell when they just like a guy. Former GM Daniels and Nix will be the best pros early. You know, Nix is just good enough at everything. I don't want to knock him from hitting wide open receivers on easy throws. I walked away wanting more from his tape. That was a scout though, but. You know, it's just kind of interesting when we're alluding to Bo Nix, how they they kind of like him. They just like the guy. They don't know why they like him, but they really like him. And he didn't play well at all in Auburn. He did play well once he got to Oregon. And, you know, he's a 5-year starter. And I think that maybe he's an NFL prospect, but I just don't think he's a first round pick. Personally.
Oh, so you don't even think he belongs in the first round? I think that's kind of wild, because how much if you think it's fine for JJ McCarthy to go at 11, I mean, is Bo Nix a whole round in the draft worse with all these quarterback needy teams?
I don't necessarily think that he's bumped up already because of the quarterback position. but I don't necessarily. It's not that I think that JJ McCarthy is better or anything. He's been who everybody seems to love or like fourth in that next tier. So I'll go with it. I don't think that he's worth trading up for. But if he's there when you select and you want him to be a quarterback of the future, I understand that. I understand that selection. I understand the pick.
I feel that. I just feel like Bo Nix and JJ McCarthy are in the same tier. They're just on the opposite sides of the spectrum. JJ McCarthy, well, we didn't see enough from you in the passing game.
See,
and
that's
Bo
the
Nix,
thing. And we seen so much of Bo Nix that we remember him being terrible. He had to leave Auburn. He had to, and he really wasn't that good the year
so
before.
You're going to focus on what he was doing back then, and not maybe he glowed up. He's a different player now.
There's the say that these 5th-year starters. It happened to Jalen, and that's why he's going to get selected in the top 3 picks. And it did probably happen with Bo Nix too. They're able to develop because they have a 5th year of watching these defenses, so they can diagnose the offenses. And that is why I believe he's a quarterback and he's an NFL prospect. Me personally, I don't think that he's the guy I'm selecting here, even though, I think that he will be selected by the Denver Broncos. I do think he'll go there. For my pick, it's going to be the Raiders. We're going to keep it simple here. We're picking Michael Penix. I think he is the 4th quarterback on the board. I understand he has a little bit of a injury history.
Don't downplay it. Don't downplay it. Four season-ending injuries is it's a cause for concern, bro. So I get it. He's a bit older.
Yeah. For some it is, and I'm not taking that away from him, but I player. I really like the guy. I can't lie. I just like the way he moves in the pocket. Ooh. I like how accurate he is. And it's just I'm looking at this. That's Byron Murphy. He's going to the NFL. He's going to get selected high. And look at what his moves. Look at him. Don't worry about it. Oh yeah, we're good. Give me that right there. I like that play, and like I said, I like the player. I think that he's solid.
That quick release is crazy.
Right?
That shit is crazy. Nah, I mean, I like him as a prospect a lot. And he, it's like the same way I just said that I like Penix more as a prospect, but I could just see Bo Nix on the Broncos, and that's what we're hearing around. It feels like the same thing with Penix and the Raiders. He just feels like a Raider to me. Doesn't he?
Yeah. And since we've been given a little bit of a scouting report on everybody else. So I do kind of want to be fair and pass on a scouting report of Bo Nix, because I know there's a lot of Raider fans out there and they probably want to see what these coaches and GMs had to say. An assistant coach, Penix is better now than May and McCarthy for the NFL football. He can read defenses, throw accurately, is quick, and has a strong enough arm. He's more of a sure thing in the NFL, but I'm not sure where he goes from here because he doesn't have the same upside. I think Bo Nix is better than Penix.
I think that's fair.
Penix is serviceable and a different player when he's playing on schedule, but he's not a good foot athlete, and I worry about him when he gets traffic in his face. So a scout just said that this man isn't a good foot athlete, and he's worried about him when he gets traffic in his face. But then we just came down here and we just answered that question incorrectly, or that statement is false. It's clearly false. You know what I mean? And it's just kind of
it's a good example, and that's why it's important that it was Byron Murphy as well, because we're probably going to be talking about him here soon. And foot athlete, I've never heard that phrase. What do you mean by that?
It's almost like when that is also good at prospect, but they don't like him, they find ways to kind of knock him down. But this sounds way better than what they were saying about McCarthy at 3, and the dude was like, yeah, he's really, I don't know if he's really that good, but I'd still pick him at 3. It's like, what?
Yeah, it's like the opposite. You know what I mean? You know what it reminds me of? When Paul Pierce was like, yeah, he's like a wing guy. So it's like, bro, what? But the Saints, this is why I wish I gave myself odds here. Not sure what the Saints really want to do. They're kind of always in this purgatory, always good enough not to have a higher pick than this, and is just always middle of the pack. To me, the fact that you couldn't win that division last year says a lot. It was right there for the taking. I mean, you brought in Derek Carr, you paid him, the Bucks got Baker, and he was on a prove it deal, and definitely showed he's the better quarterback in that division. So, but anyway, with the Saints, let's see. They have Chris Olave. They still have Shaheed, Cedric Wilson Jr., and what I'm worried about with them, yeah, they still have Taysom. They still have Jawan Johnson. Actually, you know what? I'm not going to do that. I don't think they should go Brock Bowers here, even though
I got
fuck. What? All right. Well, what do you got? Anyway, yeah. So with the Saints, they could use receiver. I could see another receiver going here. Corners in play, but I think Marshawn Lattimore, a Debo, underrated corner that they have. But in that division, you're going up against Bijan. You're going up against Tyler Algier. You're going up against Rashad White. And I'm not really liking what they have on the D-line and what they got to deal with there. So I'm actually going to go, speaking of, I think I'm going to just go Byron Murphy here.
Byron Murphy.
Yeah, didn't expect that one, huh?
Well, I mean, they drafted that position last year in the first round. I can't remember his name, but they drafted a player out of Clemson. I want to say Brian Reese, but yeah,
Brian Brzee.
Yeah, but I don't know. I wouldn't expect them, but they might double dip at D tackle. Why not? It's a valuable position in the NFL these days.
Yeah, I mean, I just figured it. What these teams are doing, I think a lot of teams. It's a copycat league, just like the world's a Tech's copycat. And what the Ravens did was making sure that they have a nice wall there in terms of run defense. And it's also like, I don't know. They could have went a lot here, but I think it's a good pick. I think it's good value. I think, they kind of need an identity. So part of their identity could be, hey, we really stopped the run well. And, we're going to also dominate that side of the ball as well. On the opposite end with Kamara, their packages with Taysom Hill and Kendre Miller. See if he could have a nice sophomore season.
Yeah, no, I think that's definitely a possibility. But so for me, I'm number 15. I got the Colts. I think right here we gotta go Cooper DeJean. I mean, I just think not even how he looks. I just really think he's the perfect player for what they want to do down there in Indianapolis.
What do you mean by that? When how he looks?
Just people want to peg him at safety. I think he's legitimate as a cornerback. He's one of the best defensive players in this draft. He can play safety, but he's an all-around DB. He clocked a 4.4 at his combine, at his pro day. And yeah, he's a solid tackler. He can play on the outside. He can play on the inside. He really knows how to diagnose plays. He doesn't mind coming up in the run game and filling lanes. I really think he's a really, really good value at this point in the draft, and also at a position in need for the Colts. So I think that's their pick.
Yeah, and it says here that he played more in the box in 2022. So, I mean, I haven't seen a lot about, them disrespecting him just based off, the elephant in the room here. But yeah, I've been hearing a lot of good things about Cooper DeJean. Obviously, a bunch of picks at his time with Iowa. So yeah, I like it. I like Shane Steichen and what they're doing over there. Might as well address that position, especially with some of the receivers in that division.
For sure.
All right. The Seahawks. We'll do with the Seahawks here. Now, obviously went JSN last year. They really invested into their D-line last year. And with Mike McDonald, it's kind of similar. Hold on, pause it. Yeah, pause it. I was saying with the Seahawks, obviously they made one of the bigger coaching splashes by stealing Mike McDonald from the Ravens. So I think he's really going to have his hands all over this draft in terms of players he wants. And I think they have a need at edge They, obviously they traded a second and fifth to the Giants for Leonard Williams. And, they have Boye Mafe, who they got recently. I think he might have been a second rounder, if not first. But I think I'm going to go Latu here.
Latu. This is where he stops. Okay.
What you think? This is a fall?
No. Well, I mean, he's one of the. I think he's the best edge in the draft. But
you think he's the best edge?
Yeah, but I mean, I understand the medical history, and that's the reason why he's probably going to fall. There's a possibility that he could fall. There's also a possibility that he goes at 8. But yeah, so
definitely a possibility. I think the Falcons just have their choice of edge there, and I wouldn't be surprised if it was Latu or if it was Jared Verse. I mean, guys, quick, just extremely talented edge rusher. I don't think I'm hoping sort of like a Jalen Phillips situation where he had that same worry coming into the draft for the Dolphins, and he's played extremely well for them. Even though I think he did get injured recently towards the end of it wasn't last year, but I believe the year before. But yeah, pick 17, Jags.
Pick 7. They just re-signed Josh Allen to the deal that he deserves. I think it was for 150 million, 88 million guaranteed over the next 4 years.
A little bit more than Brian Burns, so I'm liking the Brian Burns trade a lot.
Hey, the earlier the better, especially when it comes to contracts. The earlier the better. But I think here with 2 of the best cornerback DB players off the board at this point, I think that the Jaguars decide that they want to take a shot at one of these wide receivers. And I think the 4th wide receiver off the board here is Brian Thomas Jr., LSU Tigers. I think he's going to be the guy that they select. And Brian Thomas, he's solid. I mean, obviously he was on the same football field as Jalen, who's going to be selected in the top 3 picks, and also Malik Neighbors, Malik Neighbors. And this guy, 6'3", 209 pounds, ran a 4.33. He's comparable to Christian Watson here. I mean, he's a former basketball player, so I always kind of trust those guys. They definitely have like that, the body control. They're able to high point the ball in the air. So I think he's a solid big play outside wide receiver, and the Jaguar also a perfect fit for the Jaguars based off the fact that they already have some solid slot guys, and they have other like wide receivers that are pretty gadgety. I think that this Brian Thomas could get up with Trevor Lawrence and be his X wide receiver, his alpha wide receiver that makes plays, running slants, deep routes, deep ends, posts, all of that type of a route tree.
Yeah, bro. I actually really love this pick. Like, I feel like they 100% should do this. Losing Calvin Ridley, I know they would have had to give up a pick if they retained him. But, hey, get younger. And, I think Brian Thomas is a better prospect than Calvin Ridley was. I think he's super underrated due to the fact that this is such a receiving class. And a lot of teams are going to opt to maybe get receiver in the 2nd round because of that and fill in some holes. But Brian Thomas Jr., to me, is pretty close to those top 3 that are, highly touted in this draft.
Yeah.
And speaking of offensive weapons, at 18, I'm going to go ahead and go Brock Bowers. We have the T. Higgins situation where they franchise tagged him. He wants out. We're going to let him go. We'll see how that goes. But, hey, maybe they're like, all right, we'll have Jamar Chase here. We'll go Brock Bowers now. It's a deep receiving class. Maybe we go receiver 3rd. What do you think about that? Especially with the T. Higgins situation.
I mean, this is my dream scenario, Bowers. I mean, I'm not even kidding. This is my dream scenario for him to get up with Joe Burrow. He's able to play in the slot. So he's just the offensive weapon, and he will be placed right where he needs to be. He'll have the outside guys to be gaining all the attention with Jamar Chase being double teamed and T. Higgins on the other side right now. And with Tyler Boyd being gone, all those targets in that void is where you insert Brock Bowers as the pseudo slot wide receiver, but he's just he's a pass catcher. I think that this right here with Joe Burrow is hands down A plus. All you can really ask for Cincinnati, due to the fact that the T. Higgins situation is going on and he wants to trade. They've pretty much alluded to the fact that they're not going to trade him because they need him to win. And it doesn't really do anything for them necessarily to pick up a draft pick in a later draft, like next year's draft, or even in this one, to get a T. Higgins and hope that he plays as well as T. Higgins. So I think they're just really trying to make this championship run here. They have the core for it. And I think that Brock Bowers would be the perfect addition to that football team.
No, 100%. And what do you think about the blocking thing? I feel like the blocking might be a little bit overstated. Just based off his size, I feel like they're like, even though he's a little bit undersized at the position, he's still, an average, slightly above average blocker, because they have Mike Gesicki there, which, I mean, that offense sounds crazy. Mike Gesicki doesn't block for nothing. So it's a lot of weapons there if he happens to fall here to the Bengals. And but yeah, what do you think about that? The blocking.
I mean, I'm sure he's I think willing blocker. I don't think he's just not going to be a dominant blocker in the NFL. And it's not to say that he's not going to be able to be technically sound at blocking. It's not to say that he's not going to be able to get in the way of defenders. It is not to say that he's not going to be able to like hold up at the point of attack. But we're not drafting him at 18 for his blocking. Respectfully, we're drafting him at 18 because he's a pass catcher and he's probably one of the last blue chip pass catcher available right now. And the reason I'm calling him a pass catcher is because that's what we're selling everybody on. We're selling him on the fact that he's an offensive weapon and that he'll be receiving the ball, maybe on some end arounds. He might get the ball out the slot. He might play in line a little bit, but yeah, he's going to be on the field a lot. And yeah, it's going to be perfect. Him and Joe Burrow, I can't wait to see that. I hope that this is able to happen.
Yeah, and I know you really that's why I'll just let you go with that one, because I know that's like, a landing spot you really like for him. But, I mean, same here. I definitely don't want him to go to the Jets. And it's the perfect – you kind of have all your bases covered no matter what happens to T. Higgins or with T. Higgins. You keep him and maybe either extend him or – whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I mean, they can't really. I mean, that's the problem. But
I think this is just one of those scenarios where obviously the player wants a contract extension. He wants, certainty and he wants security. And I think it's a scenario where the Cincinnati Bengals have looked at it like, look, we have a lot of people coming up that we have to pay, and we really want him, and we have enough money on the books for a year. But after this year, we have to pay Jamar Chase, and he's going to cost a pretty penny. So we're just going to have to get younger at the position and move on with Jamar Chase. I think that's just the nature of the business. It sucks for T. Higgins. He's definitely a talented player, but, these situations happen.
Another thing on that is with receivers, they get the diva title a lot, but like at the end of the day, they're one of the most confident players on the field. And I feel like I'm not saying that he's envious or anything like that of Jamar Chase and that Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase connection. But I think he'd really want to show what he got as a true number one on a team, because he's kind of been pegged as, it's like 1A, 1B, but we really know Jamar Chase is that guy. And T. Higgins is just, it's great that they have him, but
yeah. I mean, I can't really speak on it. I can't really speak on that because I don't have any proof of that, like of him being disgruntled. I mean, I just know he wanted.
I'm not saying that he's disgruntled. I'm just saying the human element. It's hard for me to see him not feel like that at least a little bit, because if he was the true number one on another team and he was able to produce at those levels where he's not opposite of Jamar Chase, then he'd have an even bigger bag and he'd have even a bigger name.
Don't twist it. He's going to get maxed out. He's going to get maxed out because he'll be the best wide receiver available at that time. So it's like he's going to get his bag. That's not the issue. I mean, you saw the wide receivers that are available in free agency. Most of the time,
we saw the bag we just got.
Right. So don't worry about his money. The money he's going to be there for him because he's going to hit unrestricted free agency. So he's going to be the best wide receiver available.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I agree wholeheartedly. 19 Rams got a first round pick. Would you look at that? Welcome back.
So for the Rams here, obviously they just kind of dealt with the retirement of Aaron Donald. They kind of did a lot of work on their offensive line, and there's a lot of value on the board here at offensive line. So I think that I think that's select here. I think they go offensive line. I think that they get a tackle of the future. Did they get Talise Fuaga, who you can also plug in and you could play if you wanted to. You could plug him in and you could play him at one of the guard spots. He's one of the best running offensive linemen in the NFL draft in this draft cycle. I think that he would automatically make their football team better. The first days in the field, he's a day one starter. If you want to kick him out to left tackle, he can play there. But if you want to keep the tackle that they have in their spot and you want to insert him into one of the guard spots, they're instantly one of the heaviest defensive lines in the NFL and one of the best running defensive lines in the NFL. And we know they love running the football. So if anybody had Kerwin Williams last year in fantasy, he was your darling. So everybody knows how that went.
Yeah. See, with this pick, and I don't disagree with you often, but I feel like they really should try to get that Aaron Donald replacement. I hope they go like John Newton, or if Byron Murphy's still there, because the thing about why look at the Rams' history. It seems like you could throw me out there and I'll get you 80 yards a game.
But it's because of the offensive line.
But it's also because of Sean McVay and how he schemes up that offensive line, how he schemes up those runs. So it's kind of like they could do more with less. And it's like, we just lost Aaron Donald. That was like the heart of our defense. But hey, you can't go wrong with tackle on the other side of the ball. So that's just my 2 cents. Hey, Google, shut up. Yeah, so for the Steelers, now I know there's been a lot of buzz around Amarius Mims. There's a lot of buzz about that. They definitely have a need on the line. And with that tandem of Justin Fields and Russell Wilson, you want to, protect whoever edges out that starting job or who might end up getting a starting job midseason. And they also have that duo of Najee Harris and what's his name? Najee Harris.
Jaylen Warren.
Jaylen Warren. So they're going to need to improve that line. But once again, kind of how I felt about the Austin's Rams pick, it is a deep O-line draft in general. And I think you have a solid opportunity to get one of the best corners in the draft, could be the best corner in the draft. I have them going Terrion Arnold. And when you think about their defense and you just think about, the Steelers as a franchise, you think about Mike Tomlin, what do you think about? You think about their defense. You think about how they have Minkah Fitzpatrick back there. They have Alex Highsmith, TJ Watt, Joey Porter Jr. To put somebody opposite of Joey Porter Jr., I think would just make their defense elite in one of the best divisions in the league in terms of just overall talent. If you have a healthy Joe Burrow, a healthy Cincinnati Bengals team, if Deshaun Watson could come back to form a little bit, you got a lot to worry about. So, let's put somebody on the opposite side of Joey Porter Jr. and make this one of the best defenses in the league. Oh, also with that addition with Patrick Queen.
Yeah, and again, I think that's a good pick. That's actually a sleeper pick from you're able to get last year in the second round. They actually did draft an offensive lineman last year with their first round pick, and I'm not sure if he even I don't even know if he ended up being a starter for them. I know he ended up playing in some games, but he wasn't necessarily like the forget it starter. So I could see them maybe not wanting to double dip at that position again and trying to develop the player that they just drafted last year, and going ahead and getting another cornerback to replace Patrick Peterson. They would also be able to have 2 solid man-to-man corners on both of their outsides, like you said, and they're in a division that has firepower at quarterback, wide receiver. I think that's a good pick for them. I think that's a solid sleeper pick.
Yeah, 100%. And like I said, if they go tackle, if they go Amarius Mims, or they go Troy Fontenot or J.C. Latham, can't be mad at it. But in terms of what's going on in their division, and it feels like every year the Ravens are picking another receiver. So you just dealing with that crazy. So for all the reasons that Austyn just said too, yeah. But Dolphins 21.
Dolphins at 21. So they did pick up a few offensive linemen, even though they lost more offensive linemen. I think right now with the way the value's looking at on the board, I think that this is where Troy Fautanu selected here to play left tackle. He can come in, he can play on the right side. I think they might even try to kick him over to the left. Again, he's a very tackle, and also he's a humongous. I think that he'll be able to help them in the run and passing game, and he's one of the last starter, like set it and forget it starters available on the board. So I think this is where he goes.
Notice that I feel like you don't value D tackle at all. They just lost Christian Wilkins. The Rams just lost Aaron Donald. You're not a fan of Jerzon Newton, bro?
No, I mean he's a good football player, and I think that he's a solid 3 tech. But I think that also, last year in the NFL there was a huge offensive lineman problem. It was bad all around the league, and I think this is a draft with offensive line depth. I don't know how many times I've seen tackles go this high, but I think there's going to probably be about seven of them that go. And yeah, I just think that this is one of those opportunities where a good tackle fell to him, a player at a position of need, best player available. They kind of go hand in hand with each other. So that was the selection right there. Definitely think it's going to be tough in the war room. All defensive coordinators probably going to go to battle, but
yeah, probably going to go to war, but probably not with them losing Vic Fangio. And I guess there were some issues there with their defensive players. Didn't seem like they were a fan of him. But yeah, the Eagles. Speaking of Vic Fangio, that's where he went, right? That's funny. So for the Eagles, we all know what they need, right? They were getting torched last year. Torched. So I'm going to have them going Nate Wiggins. It just feels like an Eagles pick, really, which he didn't go to Bama. I mean, not Bama. He didn't go to Georgia. So it's not a lock. But if he went to Georgia, maybe to be a lock. But I mean, he blew the combine up, was 40 time. They're clearly not afraid to draft, guys with a little bit of a smaller frame, or as they're saying, a slender build. Look what they did with Devontae Smith. They traded up to get him, and he's been pretty elite over there as a duo with AJ Brown. But they really need just overall. And I think you really can't go wrong with Nate Wiggins or maybe a Kool-Aid here.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, yeah, they need DBs. The GM and the owner there, I think it's the GM. He doesn't really believe in selecting linebackers at all in the first round, so they're not going there. And I don't think that just due to the fact that they do have so much money at wide receiver right now, I don't know if they're selecting another one in the first round. So I can definitely see DB being the pick here for sure. It's going to be a good pick for them.
For sure. What about the Vikings coming back up with that Texans pick?
Luckily for the Vikings, they didn't have to use their pick to get their quarterback. So now they're in a position to select the best player available on their board. I think here they go ahead. They got their guy on offense. I think here they go ahead and they get somebody for defense, and they get Jerzon Newton. I think this is where Jerzon Newton gets off the board.
I think they would be hyped with that.
Yeah. I mean, he's a solid player. Like he is the best interior D in the drain. He has quick twitch. He's fast. He has good getting off ball, and I think he can also play well on running downs too. So I mean, he's a solid player. He's going to be a three down defensive lineman, and as long as he can get pressure up the middle, I mean, he's going to dominate games. I do think he's a good football player.
You had to make that back up. Like I was it. Yeah, so your Cowboys, it's clear with your lack of moves, kind of what you guys need. I mean, you guys always draft well, so not a lot of glaring needs, but didn't retain Tyron Smith, let him go off to the Jets. So I'm going to go ahead and give you guys J.C. Latham.
J.C. Latham. My word.
And why is that?
Because he really only plays right tackle. We do actually have a right tackle in Terrence Steele. The way that our offensive line is set up right now, if Jackson Powers Johnson is still there at 24 and these tackles are wiped out, I think they just need to turn the card in and select Jackson Powers Johnson. I think if that were the case, he would be the center. I think that they kick out Tyler Smith to left tackle. And then, I think later on in the draft, they'll go ahead and they'll find another interior defense offensive lineman. However, also I could see them drafting Amarius Mims, who is 6'8", one of these tall, like crazy athletic builds. He's really raw, but his measurables are out off the charts. And also he's young. He's 21 years old, and he works with this guy named Duke Manyweather, who is an offensive line guru, and a bunch of Cowboy offensive linemen work with him. He stated that even though he only played on the right, he is capable of playing on the left. And once he stated that, that's when I was sold on him. So, either Jackson Powers Johnson or Amarius Mims right here with the pick. It's going to be the pick. They're available at 24.
Hey, man. Like I said, we're going off what I'm hearing around the league. I think the league is a lot higher on J.C. Latham than, the fans. And obviously, I consider you like you're not obviously a casual fan or nothing like that. But let's say your boy. Who's your boy? Kalish Fuaga. He was there.
That's the pick.
Yeah, that's the pick. Huh?
That's the pick.
Yeah, that's the pick.
We only, so here's the thing. He's supposed to be like a top 15 pick. Like he's supposed to not even fall this far. Out of all of our visits, he is the only player of all of our visits that is a consistent top 15 player that we have checked out, that we visit, that's been on an official visit, which means that if he falls far enough, they possibly could be willing to trade up for that player. I don't think that they're trading up in this draft. If anything, we would trade back. But the way that it fell today, I think they just stay and they pick at they pick at 24.
Hey man, Jason Latham's gonna be looking good in that blue, bro. No?
I hope so. He's on the team now. So let's go.
All right. What about the Packers, man?
The Packers, I think this is where Graham Barton goes.
Graham Barton. So you think they go tackle, huh?
Well, Graham Barton is actually he's projected to play interior line also, but yes,
says all his staff tackle.
Oh, okay. Well, it says all his snaps are left tackle, but he actually had all 32 teams go to his pro day. So I don't even think he gets this far down. Like I think he gets selected at like 16 to Seattle or something like that. Like all 32 teams went to this man's pro day. They say he's one of the smartest players in the draft, IQ off the charts, football IQ off the went to Duke. So I don't even down this far, but if he were here at 24, Green Bay got a steal. Congratulations.
And that's the thing about this draft, man. I think it's super deep all over the place where it's going to be like, we're going to look up draft night and be like, wait, he's still here? He's still here? And as you have all this offensive talent in the beginning of the draft, that's what happens. So, yeah, I mean,
defensive players are going to go too. Like people, we have fun, and the guys that I talked about are the offensive players throughout this cycle of the NFL draft process. But there will be Jared Verses that go higher than we expected them to. Latu, like you selected earlier, he's probably going to go higher than people expect them to, because as much as it's important to score, it's so important to attack the quarterback and to stop the quarterback and the running back from scoring too. So, we will be seeing more defensive players selected in the real draft than probably we selected in this draft, but only time will tell.
For sure, man. We're so close. I really can't wait, man. Have some nice wings. All right, so the Bucs. Now with the Bucs, I feel like they're in a similar situation as the Saints in a good way, where it's like, all right, we're off the high of a way more recent Super Bowl, and we have some good players all over. We liked what we saw from Baker. We were able to keep Mike Evans. You got Chris Godwin there. Rashad White plays really good in their scheme. And here I'd just go best player available, because that division's a crapshoot. Or who's going to come out of that one. So I'd say they go ahead and just based off value, they just go ahead and get. Gee, I thought I was locked into that. Actually, nah, that's what we're doing. We're going Jared Verse. I was thinking Kool-Aid here, but we're going Jared Verse. His fall stops. I believe you said you thought he was the best edge rusher in the draft. So
I think a lot
Latu.
But Verse is good too. I definitely think he's not 27. I think he's going before. Again, it's possible. This is why this exercise is a thing, and people do mock drafts because it's like, wow, no way this guy can fall to us, and then you get CD Lamb at 17. So
you need to get that quote tatted on you, bro.
Oh, thank you, Atlanta. I love you, Atlanta. But yeah, we got on the clock here, Arizona Cardinals. And again, I think here they're able to come out, keep their pick, and leave the draft with 2 day one starters. They got their stud wide receiver. Their offensive line is kind of intact, but I think they got enough picks in the later rounds that they can just shoot darts at that position and probably come up with someone solid to help contribute to their football team next year. I don't know what's going on with the corner depth after like a few more of these DBs go. So I think right here, the Arizona Cardinals select Kool-Aid McKinstry, and he's their day one starter at cornerback. So they got their day one starter at wide receiver, and they got their day one starter at cornerback in the NFL draft. Didn't have to do any trades. They didn't get cute. They just stayed where they were, and they picked.
Yeah, I really like that pick for them as well. Yeah, with the Cardinals, you come out with Marvin Harrison Jr. and Kool-Aid, and I might have to go party in Scottsdale. It'll be up.
I mean, it's a good start. It's a good start to the franchise's future right there.
Yeah, and that division, I feel like it's just getting a little bit more winnable. Even though with Seahawks, I feel like they're a sleeper, but we'll get to that type of predictions. Those, I think they're really blown about Brian Thomas not falling here, which is not surprising. He might not be if they really want him that bad, they might have to trade up. But it obviously has to be receiver here, right? And I'm torn between Troy Franklin and Adonai Mitchell, but I think I'm gonna go with Adonai Mitchell here. They still have Khalil Shakir. Obviously, James Cook was, cooking. And Dalton Kincaid is looking like their version of Travis Kelce. And, they really want to get over that hump with the Chiefs. Maybe they take a page out of their book, have their best guy potentially be that tight end. But Adonai Mitchell, 6'4", just getting cheaper. They got rid of basically everyone that was either inconsistent injury-wise or just bad for the locker room, obviously, and Stephon Diggs, who was extremely disgruntled. So you get to restart that, and I think Donnie Mitchell will be hyped to be here. I mean, whoa, that's a crazy height discrepancy. Is he 6'2" or is he 6'4"? What the hell?
We'll say he's 6'3".
Yeah, we'll say he's 6'3". He's tall enough to play the position. But yeah, with Adonai Mitchell, I just think overall, you're going to Josh Allen. Like it's going to be amazing. I think they should just take the best receiver available on their board. Their whole first round should just be, who do we have at receiver? Let's hope Brian Thomas is there. Oh shit, he's not there. Take whoever else you have there.
I mean, obviously I personally don't think that's the best way to win us the board, but I do understand like it's best player available at the position of need. Sometimes that's who you got to select. And again, it's a good pick for him. I think he could do really well. He'll do really well in that offense, especially with Josh Allen throwing him the ball. So yeah, I'm excited to see that. And I do think that he will be getting selected between picks 28 and 32. I think that's where he goes off the board here. So now we're over here to Detroit, and this guy isn't necessarily on our draft board right now, but I think he's going to be high on franchises draft boards, on teams draft boards. And we're going with Chop Robinson here at 29.
You go to edge, Chop.
And again, he's just sometimes Yeah, sometimes the NFL fall in love with players that have certain type of attributes and traits, and that's Chop Robinson. I mean, he's one of those crazy pass rushers that maybe he didn't have the production that people wanted, but his traits are off the charts. He can run he clocked a 4.4. I don't know how they keep on getting guys like that over there in Penn State, but they keep on producing them, and the NFL is going to keep on taking flyers on those guys.
And here's the actually what this is the Lions. It's funny. I didn't even mean to see that, but most drafted by the Lions. So yeah, opposite of Aiden Hutchinson, I think it's just a great place for him as a player to be opposite of that. And just the culture over there, the vibes are immaculate. Dan Campbell runs a tight ship over there. And they have tons of players on defense. They, knocked the draft out the park last year, even though some of the picks at the time seemed questionable with Jahmyr Gibbs. And then you take a linebacker with your other first-round pick, but he played pretty well. And Jack Campbell, I think Chop Robinson, this is a great opportunity for him to start his career for sure. For sure. Number 30, Ravens. Once again, I think, as I said earlier, it seems like they're always drafting receiver here. I'm not sure if Rashad Bateman is that guy. And we know Zay Flowers, he's extremely talented. But his style of a receiver, I think Lamar could use another talented receiver with a different game. And I think a very underrated receiver in this class is Troy Franklin. And maybe that's part of the reason why you're not a fan of Bo Nix, because this guy right here was carrying the load with that. But I think in a lot of different drafts, maybe even last year, let's use last year, for example, since JSN went first, I wouldn't be surprised if he was the first receiver taken last year. This is how deep this receiving class is.
Yeah, I don't think that about him, but yeah.
I think he's a wide receiver one, bro. I really do think he's a wide receiver one the more I look at him.
They look at him to be a good wide receiver too.
Yeah, but is PFF always right?
PFF is not always right.
Unless they had Puka in the second.
Right.
So
yeah.
Well, time will tell. Time will tell.
Right. And right here, this is just the good old saying, the rich get richer. And San Francisco 49ers, even though they don't need the player, he's still on the board. I think here they select Ladd McConkey. That's who I'm picking. I mean, I think it's just the best value. Yeah, they need a cornerback bad, but they got wiped out at the position. It's no point of reaching for one just because we need one. And yeah, I just think that right now the best player on the board is Ladd McConkey out of Georgia. The reason I like him so much is because, one, it looked like he was always getting open. It looked like he was always open at Georgia. And then even when he played when he went to the Pro Bowl, the Senior Bowl, he was always open too. And it is like, wow, this guy, he gets Cooper Kupp and all the other, smooth wide receivers, Hunter Renfrow. But in reality, it's like, no, this guy can actually, he's legit. He's legit as a prospect. He runs a 4.39. That's legit speed. That's legit straight line speed and legit speed anywhere on the field. And like, to be compared to Percy Harvin is the craziest comparison in the world, because if anyone remembers the way Percy Harvin played football, it was almost like he was 10 years before his time. He was the guy you could give it to out the backfield. You could give it to him in the slot. You give it to him on a bubble screen. You were just finding ways to get him the ball, and he would break on it. And if you're saying that a guy that's comparable to Percy Harvin is now going to be on the same team with Christian McCaffrey, Deebo Samuels, and Kyle Shanahan, yeah, I don't know. He might be the Puka Nacua of this year's draft, like in the first round, because he's going to have opportunities to do special things.
Yeah, you kind of said it at the end, but like, everyone's looking for that Puka for this draft. It's just like when you're slated for the first, second, not really. So I don't know if we'll see that again for some time. It's crazy. Like, it's crazy. And then I only saw what Aaron Donald said about him.
So I do think that we will see more wide receivers that are drafted in later rounds that are able to make impacts on their teams. Because one, I think
like Puka though. He broke records. Like,
Well, okay, maybe they won't break records, but I'm saying they're just going to make impacts on their team, even to take Dells or like the Romans and
No,
Dobbs. Like,
1,000%, 1,000%.
yeah,
But making
yeah.
the impact on the team and being Puka, legit. I mean, Puka's a legit wide receiver one to me. I think I've seen enough, just like I've seen enough with CJ. I think they should have won rookie of the year. To be honest, it's not like they've never done it before, but
Right,
or offensive player, whatever. But yeah, with the Chiefs. Oh, by the way, with the Lab McConkey pick, I was kind of questioning it, but the more you talked, which this is why you do what you do, you kind of convinced me on it. I think they should have went tackle. I mean, Amaris Mims still being there is kind of crazy, and Trent Williams is getting up there in age. And based off Kyle Shanahan's run-heavy scheme and the play action, I still probably would have went tackle. But given the Brandon Ayuk situation, you already have all that money tied up, and Christian McCaffrey, Debo, and George Kittle on offense. You're not paying Brock Purdy nothing, but Lad McConkey, I think if anybody could do something with him, it'd be Kyle Shanahan. And Lad McConkey, from what I've seen, the kid just knows how to get open, and any team could use that.
So and that's how people felt before, where they probably thought, oh yeah, we just hope he can clock a 4.5. He comes out, he runs a 4.3. It's like, oh, okay, this kid's legit. Kid is legit. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't even be surprised if he got drafted higher. I just couldn't have him go Chiefs. I just couldn't have the Chiefs get Lad McConkey.
Yeah, you stole my damn pick with that one. That's why I knew you were kind of forcing it. But yeah, I'm still gonna have the Chiefs go receiver here. Now, obviously, this is the NFL. She Rice's situation. I don't think it's really going to do anything. He's going to, however that happens or however that's resolved legally is going to happen. He'll be back on the Chiefs. He'll be disciplined, maybe by the league, depending on, the details that come out. But regardless, receiver is still a need. And I'm torn here, but I think I'm going to go Keon Coleman. Oh, shit. Damn. If you want to bring up his player profile real quick.
Yeah. Let me
I did not expect you to do that. No, you good, you good. I was like, damn, you had to disappear.
Right. He bounced on us real quick. It's okay. It's all right. No biggie. See if we can get her. Ooh, okay. All right. I actually like what they got for your guy. Right here, we got Keon Coleman.
Yeah. Now with Keon Coleman, obviously, like damn near the opposite of a Lad McConkey, right? With Keon Coleman, you're going to get those jump balls, and you're going to get the size, the athleticism, and Albinson really isn't a bad comp in my opinion, but I think he has the potential to be even better than that. And when it comes to Patrick Mahomes, it's you just want talent on that side of the ball, and Andy Reid's going to figure out how to use the guy. So if you can't get Lad McConkey, why not get a big body receiver who could go ahead and get those jump balls while Travis Kelce is breaking ankles in the middle of the field?
Well said.
All right. Well, that wraps it up for our mock draft 1.0. Like I said earlier, we'll probably have a 2.0 right before the draft. We'll probably just leave it at 2.0. Still thinking about if we'll do trades or make that a second rounder. Y'all let us know. You know where to reach us. Make sure you like and subscribe, and we'll catch y'all later.
All right. See you guys.